On today's episode of the Cryptoverse. Due to hyperinflation in Venezuela, the government is cancelling its largest currency note. Oh, and they basically have 3 days notice. Dash is the privacy-focused digital currency that offers transactions with instant confirmations. Its unique, decentralized decision-making and self-funding system make it an ideal choice as a stable and secure digital cash. Click the link in the video description to learn more. Hi there guys, and welcome to the latest episode of the Cryptoverse, your regular dose of news and commentary on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains. I am your host, Chris Coney. So let's get into today's news. I know I've done this on the last few episodes of the Cryptoverse. I'm not going to make a habit of it. But before we get into the news, I just want to point this out. Bitcoin.com have an article, an interview with an ordinary Indian person on the impact of the demonetization that's been going on in India. So if anyone's still under any delusion that demonetization is somehow positive for India, read this interview from someone on the ground who is going to give you an insight into what life is like as a result of the demonetization. This links into the Venezuela story. And also, the Cointelegraph also have an article called All Pain, No Gain. India's failed demonetization is a lesson to all. So again, they are going to be telling you why the demonetization is turning out to be atrocious for India. So I just thought I'd point that out. I haven't got time to cover those today, so let's get into the article. So I turned again today to Reddit to find the breaking news. I did look on all the major cryptocurrency news outlets to see if any of them were covering this, but none of them have an article on this yet. Maybe they're still writing it. But anyway, shout out to this particular Reddit user called Ine Vovin, who posted on r/BTC with a link to this Bloomberg article, which I'm going to cover. So this story falls into the category, or the larger category of news that we've been circulating the world right now, which is like the war on physical cash. And the official line from the governments is that gradually reducing the use of cash, they say that they're doing it because if everyone is using digital money in bank accounts, then the governments can more easily catch criminals and so on, right? But many believe that the true intention is to use this as a setup so that wealth can then later be effortlessly confiscated via things like bank bail-ins or one-off wealth taxes if the government needs extra money or if the banks, make losses and are going to fail. So now bail-ins and these wealth taxes, as they're called, are not theoretical. The most well-known one in my mind is probably the 2012 Cypriot financial crisis, which I'll link to in the video description. So the article itself is called Venezuela Orders Largest Bills Turned In Ahead of New Banknotes. And then the 2 bullet points that kind of summarize the article. It says, Maduro says move to fight smuggling and currency attacks. That's the official line again. And are these really the priorities right now, given the state of the Venezuelan country? But you see what I mean? It's almost like these world governments are given a script that they pass around when they want to talk to the citizens. So anyway, it goes on to say that Venezuela's government has ordered all 100 Bolivar or Bolivia notes out of circulation within 72 hours amid a hard cash shortage and the scheduled release this week of bigger banknotes. Okay, I'm sorry to do this again, but wouldn't it be more logical to release the bigger notes first rather than getting the smaller ones in first? Because it's going to cause a cash shortage in between handing in the small notes and issuing the big ones. I mean, isn't that just a logical thing to do? I mean, considering the currency is in a state of hyperinflation, which means prices are rising fast. A can of Coke, say, was $1 yesterday, and today it's $2, which means I need twice as many notes to buy that can of Coke, or I need a single note with double the face value. Now, that can of Coke example is simple enough, and it wouldn't appear to cause any major problems for the regular citizen. But if we look at the cover image of this article, if I scroll back up here, what if this, if you were to listen to this on the podcast rather than YouTube, there's a desk which have stacks and stacks of 100 Bolivar or Bolivia notes from Venezuela, and there's a cardboard box with like hundreds and bundles and bundles and bundles of notes. What if this was how much currency you needed to buy a can of Coke or a bottle of water? And again, Zimbabwe is probably the most well-known example of hyperinflation. And I found this image on Google Images, which shows a wheelbarrow full of Zimbabwe currency. And that amount of currency may literally only buy you an apple or a bottle of water or something. And of course, when hyperinflation gets to that point, we've gone beyond ridiculous. The question is though, if a cryptocurrency were to hyperinflate, what would we do? Well, we would just move the decimal place one to the left, right? Problem solved. Now, while that's technically true, in reality, hyperinflation is unlikely to happen in a cryptocurrency, especially when you have a maximum amount of currency that can be created. Okay, so let's get back to the article then and look at the next bit that I want to talk about. So here's a quote from President Nicolas Maduro on state television. Quote, "There has been a scam and a smuggling of the $100 bills on the border with Colombia. We've tried the diplomatic way to deal with this problem with the Colombian government, but there are huge mafias." Okay, Nicholas, I believe you. But the next logical question is, what's going to stop the mafia from smuggling these new larger notes that are about to be released instead? Surely that makes their life easier. So moving on from there then to the green bit, it says, with the value of Venezuela's largest banknotes reduced to a few US cents by triple-digit inflation, the country's central bank said it will begin circulating higher denominated notes on the 15th of December. Yeah, so the 100 Bolivar or Bolivia note is worth about 2 cents in US dollars. And that's currently their largest note, which is why you'd need like a wheelbarrow full of notes to buy anything that's priced more than a few dollars. So the solution then is to issue these larger notes with higher values. That's only a temporary solution though, because if the fundamental mechanics that are causing the hyperinflation are not dealt with, you'll just have to go around the cycle again. That 1,000 Bolivar note will then be worth what the 100 was, and then I have to issue 10,000 notes, then 100,000 notes, and like the Zimbabwe example, they ended up with something like a 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollar note or something. And you can search Google Images for that. You've never seen so many zeros on a banknote before. So then finally the article says Venezuela's consumer economy is largely cash-based. So cash-based means peer-to-peer. One person handing currency to another person with no bank and no middlemen. Bank transfers and credit cards, by contrast, are not peer-to-peer, specifically because they go via one or more banks before they get to the other person. However, while a peer-to-peer cash system seems to have no third party when you first look at it, the third party is really whoever issues and controls the currency. And in these cases, the third party is actually the government or the central bank. And that's where it goes wrong. So switch to cryptocurrencies, my friends, and let's take back control of the currency system and put control back where it belongs, in the hands of the people. So thanks for joining me today, guys. If you liked this episode, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please leave me a comment below with some feedback and get subscribed. And please support the Cryptoverse and boost cryptocurrency adoption by going to cryptoversity.com/podcast and becoming a patron. From as little as $10 a month, you can secure Cryptoversity's future, get unlimited access to all Cryptoversity courses, as well as access a private patrons-only chat group where you get direct access to me. But that's all for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.